Hi guys, and welcome back to J12 Enhanced. So, this one's going to be extremely different than any other script I've written because, well, I'm not writing it. I'm just speaking it into the recorder right now because as I've been honest with you guys on TikTok and multiple other platforms, I've written myself into a corner with the Horror Fest schedule. I'm not going to be able to do a review for each film. The next couple of videos like this are going to be combinations of each film going from, from 8 to 5 and then 5 to 3 are all going to be in their own videos respectively. And I'm not going to write any of the scripts at all. I'm just going to do what I'm doing right now and talking to you guys about how I liked the movies, what I didn't like about the movies, and it's going to be very brief. And I do apologize for that, and I'll do better to follow my own schedule next year during Horror Fest. With all that said, let's get right into it with number 8. And we did have a clue on the last video, but those will be non-existent from here on out. That's your clue. Number 8 was in fact Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Now I did have quite a big script already wrote up for this entire review, so later on throughout the year we might end up having a different review for it as the full movie review rather than just this small one that I'm about to do right here. And even though I'm trying to watch my words and correct myself, none of this is written this time. So I'm just going to do a quick synopsis, and it's not really going to have much to do with the story. I mean, I am going to tell you that I love this movie, and it's not really for the story at all. It's for the insane costumes and the insane kills and crazy ways that things happen in this movie. There's a lot of scenes that get me chuckling and a lot of scenes that actually get me a little bit unnerved. And to be completely honest, this movie falls in the category of so terrible that it's good. I mean, in any sense of the word, most people would tell you that this movie is terrible. Bad made, bad art, bad everything. But the truth of the matter is that art is subjective. So this movie is on another level of cult classic where I feel like even though most critics and most people would say that this is a terrible movie, it is honestly one of the greatest scary movies that involves clowns that I've ever seen. And it's mostly because it doesn't try to take itself seriously at all. I swear if they ever try to reboot this movie and make it serious, I'll bash my head on the wall until my brains come out. There's no reason to remake any type of movie like this unless you're going to remake it in this same art style. If you make it this way, make it silly, make it not take itself too seriously, then you'll probably have a fairly good movie. What I really love about the clown costumes is they go overboard with the puppeteering, and it looks really creepy and realistic. The way they kill them by popping their nose is one of the funniest damn things I've ever seen in a clown movie, and their guns that turn people into cotton candy that they suck the blood out of is just simply hilarious. Multiple different times in the movie I caught myself chuckling just at little jokes that most people probably wouldn't even care too much about, but since I'm quite the clown enthusiast as you've seen, I enjoyed it quite thoroughly. It definitely lands as number 8 on my best horror movies of all time list. Alright, so like I said, we're moving straight on into number 7. And number 7, without any clue or ado, is Gremlins. Now, although I do love Gremlins 2, and I've seen it multiple times now, Gremlins 1, the original, was just so integral to my growing up and how I advanced in horror movies as a child. As we all know, this movie is PG-13, and back when PG-13 could include scenes like this, where Billy's mom goes full Rambo on these damn things and kills 3 of them before one of them escapes, being the one that transforms into the mob that we see later. Stripe is probably one of the best villains in a movie that never has really any lines aside from a couple at the end, and a couple of starf lines here and there between him and the rabble-rousing gang of gremlins throughout the city. This movie has so many edgy lines and so many places where it tries to blur the lines between PG-13 and rated R horror flick that I just couldn't help but love it as a kid. I always felt like I was getting to watch something I wasn't allowed to watch, and that on top of the fact that Gizmo is one of the cutest damn things ever, and I swear is what Furby should have looked like instead of this nightmare fuel. It's why it gets its spot at number 7 on my greatest horror movies of all time list. Alright, and here we go. Moving right on into number 6, with no ado and no clue. Number 6, The Leprechaun. The Leprechaun is a weird movie, and I'm not gonna lie about that. It's honestly probably one of the oddest things you'd ever think of for a horror movie, because when you think of leprechauns, you don't typically think of this. You typically like to think of this, right? Well, in this movie, that leprechaun from that box of cereal is completely and totally absent. Instead, we get one of the greatest little people actors of all time playing probably one of the creepiest damn villains in a horror movie I've ever seen in my entire life. This movie is full of so many strange and interesting kills, and the characters, while being a bit campy, it was the 90s, always kept my interest and kept me coming back for more. I also had a crush on Jennifer Aniston, being a Friends fan, Warwick Davis. In this iconic role, the great little people actor who has done amazing work in other films like Harry Potter and The Lord of the Rings, also one of my all-time favorite classic fantasy films, Willow, plays this role fantastically in a creepy and unsettling manner. And he uses magic in multiple ways to kill people while looking for his pot of gold that was stolen by an old Irishman long ago. After he escapes from the box that the man trapped him in, he runs wild in the city looking for his gold and harassing the people who opened the box and let him out. Leprechaun 2 has one of my favorite scenes in any Leprechaun movie, where our guy's face gets blended up by a shop fan in a garage because the leprechaun convinces him that it's a pair of big fat boobies, and he tries to put his face in said big fat boobies and instead gets his face cut up by a shop fan, which is an awesome scene, but not part of my favorite Halloween movies, only because the Leprechaun 1 has the better storyline, better arcing characters, and I really think it has the better performance by the Leprechaun.
Fuck you, Lucky Charms.
And since we're getting into this final one, I just also wanted to say that since these movies, most of them are considered cult classics, and there's not really any big emphasis on really big, nice movies, as we get into the rest of the top 5, you guys are going to see that these next 3 movies increase in quality and increase in professional movie type quality as we continue into 5 through 3. So with that, this has been J12 Enhanced Horror Fest, and I will see you guys in the next video very soon.